Hi, Dayna here. I'm an unschooling advocate, and I'm here to answer some questions that I've gotten this week about unschooling. I've gotten a comment or two just today, actually, that I want to respond to, but I think a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their minds around a lot of unschoolers' views about TV and video games and media in our lives, and I want to just kind of elaborate a little bit. I think a lot of people in the naturally minded community have kind of been told that media and computer games and TV are bad. A couple people wrote books about the negative effects of TV, and I think it's really important for people coming to this life to understand that most of the studies in those books are based on and written on mainstream children, children that have gone through the school system or are in school and have been parented very traditionally. These studies and books are not written on children that come from attached parents, families that are practicing attachment parenting, and their connection and relationship with their children are totally different. Now, children that have been raised through attachment parenting have a really strong core sense of self and a strong, connection with their parents, and that goes deeper than our culture currently promotes. Now, they're not as easily influenced by media, by outside influences, because they just are very confident, very independent, very secure. And so it's kind of really is more for entertainment for most children in this lifestyle than I think a more traditionally, parented and schooled child is currently part of. When you're part of the system and your child is going to school and you're not seeing them very often, a child doesn't really get to be immersed in like a nuclear family in a way that a child who is unschooled and has been raised in an attachment parenting mindset does. And so, when mainstream children see TV programs and, are playing video games, they may be more easily influenced, and they may really believe what they're seeing on TV as opposed to having the parent right next to them sharing that, that that's not real, and this is real life, not that. And it's just really important for people that are in a natural minded lifestyle to understand this. So it can be really scary when you first read these books about the harmful effects of TV and so forth. Also, the studies that show the brain waves of children watching TV are like zombies, and that's just not true. Studies have shown, and if you dig deeper, you'll see that studies have shown that a child's brain watching TV isn't any different than a child reading a book. Yes, it's a passive state, just like reading. I don't know many unschooled kids that do just sit with that zombie glared over look that these people are kind of like against in my life. I find my children, if they're watching TV, they're into it, they're passionate, obviously they're focused. I mean, why is it that we can look at a child that's focused on TV, call it some glazed over look, or put some kind of negative word associated with the way the child looks watching TV, but yet in schools, in our mainstream culture, we drug them because we want them to look like that in school. We want them to have that glazed over focused look. It's just such a hypocritical world that we live in. Another thing that I really want to talk about is that the naturally minded community. I'm part of that. I've been immersed in that since having my children. That's how I discovered natural birth, attachment parenting, all the things that most people that are watching this probably agree with and are into. Kind of alongside of that goes, a lot of people are really focused on not allowing plastics in their house, for example. They really want only natural toys. Well, by really fearing plastics and the chemicals and so forth in plastics, there's pros and cons to everything, right? There's black and white to every single thing. Well, if my child has a need for a drive or a want for a certain toy, I don't focus on what it's made out of. I focus on seeing the learning in everything. Now, if you're limiting your child's things based on material, you really are limiting their learning if you understand the unschooling philosophy and know that learning is everywhere and in everything. So by limiting things to only wooden toys or only toys made out of natural objects, you're indirectly limiting their learning. And also, I think you're kind of focusing on something that you're really hoping your child doesn't have. I think we don't want our kids to be materialistic. We focus on materialism. But what is it that a lot of people that are really fearing the material that their child's toys are made out of? You are being materialistic when you're living like that. You are literally putting so much focus on material things when that energy should be directed toward your child and their passions, and just kind of ignoring what the things are made out of. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, and maybe some people won't agree with me with that, but that's just my own belief. And seriously, when I was going through my own, journey and path through natural parenting, and first started reading about a lot of these things that were against anything but natural toys, at first it started to make sense, and I was really panicky. I'm looking around, looking at anything that wasn't made out of wood or natural material, going, oh my goodness, is this going to harm my child? But I had to look at the joy in my child and know that that joy and pleasure and learning that was going to take place would far outweigh any possible, a millionth of a chance, incident that the child's going to be affected by the chemicals in the plastic, which I just think is such a far stretch. I personally don't really buy into that. And we sell wooden toys for a living, and I'm coming from this mindset, so I'm definitely not biased. Anyway, I just wanted to just share a few of my views and just say that, living in joy and not fear is the goal that I have personally. I mean, I think a lot of radical unschoolers do, that we see that our cups is half full rather than half empty. Yes, you can find negatives in everything and you can focus on those, or you could focus on the joy and the pleasure and everything, even with media, television, video games, toys. I just trust my children. I trust what they're drawn to because I know that whatever they're drawn to, they're going to learn from, and I'm right by their side to help them. So just to answer the question about TV that I got about, somebody actually emailed me and asked that there's so many corrupt things on TV that they would never allow their child to choose. I think that people think that when we say that we support our children's choices, that we're just giving them the remote and leaving the house saying, good luck to you. Not at all like that. We're right by their side. My children actually don't just click through. We talk about different shows that are on. If we watch things together, and yeah, there's a lot of corrupt things on TV, like the news. They have no desire to watch those things at all. There's a lot of corrupt things in books too, but I don't choose to never read again or not let them read because there's corrupt things in books. There's corrupt things everywhere. I choose not to live in fear. I trust them, and our lives are amazingly abundant and joyful because of it. So thanks a lot for listening. Have a great night.